Hey everybody, welcome to the weekly Nintendo News Roundup Live. We're each and every Friday night at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. The All-In Crew breaks down the week in Nintendo news. Hey Eric, how you doing,
How you
buddy?
doing, bud?
Doing
Can't
good?
complain. Another wonderful Friday. Here we are, Veterans Day weekend. Have you thanked a veteran yet?
No, I'll thank you right now. Thank you, Eric, for your
Oh
service.
well, I was a poor excuse for a veteran.
Oh, that's not true. Come now. Come now. No, absolutely not. Yeah, we love our veterans here, especially our resident veteran, Eric here. I hope everybody has a good holiday weekend. Hope everybody is safe and celebrates and yeah. Thank a veteran. You
Yeah,
do that. All
you do
right.
that and
You do
play
that.
some video games. But yeah, thank a veteran. I actually had the opportunity to attend a really nice Veterans Day ceremony down here in Florida. The St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum actually just opened up a brand new what they call Military Honor Plaza. So that was really nice, and I got to attend that this morning. So that was nice. That was nice.
Nice.
Was nice. Can confirm.
Love to see that. Well, yeah. Go think a veteran. But you know who else we need to thank, Eric? One
Uh,
of the
as the resident veteran, I can vouch these are just as important as the veterans that you thank every week here on the Nintendo News Roundup. We absolutely have to thank our patrons.
That's right. Patreon.com/allinpodcast is the place to be. Big thanks to everybody who supports us over there. Big thanks to Bowza, who's here in the chat saying, howdy, gents. Bowza came up to the Triforce tier this past week. So big thanks to Bowza for doing that. We really appreciate you. I got to see Bowza in person and hug Bowza at
Yeah,
Extra Life mere days ago. And I'm still coming down from that whole experience, to be honest with you. But huge thanks to Bowser for
yeah.
doing that. But
Gents plural. Is there somebody here I'm not aware of? Somebody else in the chat?
multiple gents here. But of course, we need to thank the rest of our supporters. Let's start with our Golden Banana bunch, like Rob Yapel, Third Strongest Mole, Sean O. Baggins Ashton, Tim A, aka Neoprime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Matt, Shy Guy City Murray, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Gamer Jason, Andrew Wilkins, Foolish Fuji, Alan, hashtag Look to the Cookie, Patrice Millette, and Solo Something. Big thanks to our Golden Banana Bunch. You can head over to patreon.com/allinpodcast and get a 7-day free trial to that Golden Banana tier. Get a bunch of exclusive content. But moving into our Triforce tier, need to thank Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday, John Datfast Cummins of the Retro Logic podcast, as well as the On Topic Retro podcast, the Globetrotting Jet Set Nintendo Hub and Sparky of the Nintendo Hub right here on YouTube, Adam Caparello of the Retro Groove podcast, the other half of our Shy Guy Mod Squad, Shy Guy, thank you, Shy Guy, Daniel Hosa, Dan and Luma, Bowza, and the legend himself.
The man who is a veteran of the great Nintendo War of 2023. Uncle Randy.
That's right. Thank you very much to everybody who supports us
And
on Patreon.
you were talking about one of our patrons, Tim A, aka Nintendo. What's his last name again?
Tim Alf. Tim
Alf?
Alf.
Alf?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, don't even get me on that, man. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. I had to stop Sean in that moment. That was like, we've gone too far. We have gone too far. Good old Tim Alf, man. We love you, buddy. So thanks to everybody who supports us. You can also pick up some merch, bit.ly/allinmerch. If you're watching us on YouTube, down below there, you should see some merch as well. That's very appreciated. And if you listen to us on podcast feeds, 5-star reviews are a very free and easy way to support the show as well. So yeah, big thanks to everybody, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But this has been low-key a bit of a crazy news week, to be honest.
Not even Loki, even if it was just for one thing, one simple little megaton mic drop from Nintendo earlier this week, it still would have been one of the biggest news weeks of the year. But we also have some other very notable stuff to talk about from the past 7 days. It stinks that we weren't with you guys last Friday, but we're going to make up for it by giving you guys an extra special Newsweek breakdown this Friday. So, Seth, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. I mean, we got to talk about the Zelda movie thing, right?
The what? I'm sorry. What happened?
That little teeny tiny a little, on Tuesday, Nintendo just randomly decides to tweet out a couple of little things here. Miyamoto himself with his trademark "This is Miyamoto,"
This is me. I
which
love
is
that. I
I love
love
it
that
too.
so much. This is Miyamoto. Admittedly, it's adorable, but at the same time, you see those words immediately. You know it's something big.
Mm-hmm.
You see the words, this is Miyamoto. Okay, I got to take out a notebook because whatever the preceding words are going to be a big deal. And sure
Threatening
enough,
aura. Threatening aura.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Same
is a
energy,
big deal.
yeah, same energy as, you said what now?
Yeah. So the tweet reads, I've got it up on the screen here if you're watching the video. This is Miyamoto. I've been working on the live action film of The Legend of Zelda for many years now with Avi Arad-san, who's produced many mega hit films. I've asked Avi-san to produce this film with me, and we have now officially started the development of the film, with Nintendo itself heavily involved in the production. It will take time until its completion, but I hope you look forward to seeing it. Now, in addition to this tweet, we also got this right here, this press release that gives us a little more information. The film will be produced by Shigeru Miyamoto, representative director and fellow of Nintendo, and Avi Arad. I love that too. Yeah. Chief Creative Fellow or whatever his title is. And Avi Arad, chairman of Arad Productions Inc., who has produced many mega hit films. The film will be produced by Nintendo and Arad Productions Inc. and directed by Wes Ball. The film will be co-financed by Nintendo and Sony Pictures Entertainment Inc., with more than 50% financed by Nintendo. The theatrical distribution of the film will be done worldwide by Sony Pictures Entertainment Inc. And here's a picture of Miyamoto and Avi Arad for reasons.
For reasons. Well, I mean, pictures, help break up, the monotony of text.
Sure.
It's always nice to have, a human element integrated into a news article like that. But yes, if you somehow haven't heard, an official live action Legend of Zelda movie has been greenlit, co-produced by the PlayStation Company.
Mm-hmm.
With the Marvel, with the prior Kevin Feige, Avi Arad at the helm, and the director of the Maze Runner franchise in the director's seat. So that is a lot of information to take in, and there's a lot of stuff that could be discerned and could even be speculated from that.
Yeah, I mean, so much so that on tomorrow's episode of the podcast, we actually sit in that pocket for quite a while. So if you want some kind of deeper discussion of it, tune into the podcast tomorrow for that. But this is a big deal. This is, I think, especially after the success of the Super Mario Brothers movie, a lot of people just sort of assumed, and the rumors were like, hey, it's probably just going to wind up being, an Illumination animated Zelda movie again. But no, live action. It's a thing.
It's almost as if Nintendo felt they desperately needed a stock bump Tuesday night or something. Because it did just kind of come out of nowhere. We got all the Nintendo financials. We got a big report that we're going to break down here in just a few minutes. But an announcement of that magnitude, you would honestly expect to end a core Nintendo Direct, right?
Maybe. I mean, they've done announcements like this in Nintendo Directs before. Yeah. Once they started to finally show, stuff from the Mario movie, when they announced the cast, that was in a Nintendo Direct. So there is some precedent for this. It's mostly for me. My read on that was they wanted to go ahead and start putting the feelers out to cast the movie, and it's better to just get ahead of it and announce it yourself versus, having rumors float out there and whatever. Let's just get ahead of it, put it out there. We don't have to show a darn thing. We don't have to put out a logo or nothing. We've got, we can put out some bare bones details, get people interested, get a little bump to our stock, which did help, and their stock did increase after that.
Oh yes,
not like a ridiculous amount, but it did get a bump after that. And this did come hot off the heels of their Q2 financial briefing, so it made sense to announce it now too. So this was a straight up and down business move. We have no clue when we're going to see this movie. No. It's going to be years.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very long time. Again, Miyamoto said in the initial tweet that he's already been working on it for years, but now they at least have something. They at least have some type of plan to move forward with. That being said, making movies at this level does take years. So don't even expect, if we see anything, we may see some initial images. We may hear some casting news by the end of next year, but that would honestly be all we can expect. We've probably got an entire year to speculate on even just the basics of this film, but it officially is happening. And here in the early stages, I was a little concerned about Nintendo announcing this so early because of everything that could potentially happen. However, given the success of the Super Mario Brothers movie earlier on this year, I certainly don't feel like this is a movie project that is in any danger of being canceled, especially with Nintendo funding more than half of the movie themselves, which they specifically said, I feel like, to put people at ease about where the buck kind of stopped in terms of decision making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I think they, especially after the success of the Mario movie,
Yep.
they're taking this stuff seriously. They
yeah.
they open their own like Nintendo Pictures and stuff, and I think when you're moving into the realm of animation, there are few companies that are better to work with than Illumination. And when you're moving into the world of live action, there are few companies who are better to work with than Sony to distribute it. So I think that they are working with the right people. Like Nintendo can't just, as big as Nintendo is, because they don't have like a strong foothold in movies on their own, they can't just come out and say, hi, yes, we're Nintendo Pictures, we're footing 100% of the bill, and we're putting out, and we're doing this and we're doing that. They have no name for themselves yet in that space.
Yeah.
So being able to work with somebody like Avi Arad and like Sony Pictures and stuff allows them like the cachet that they need to cast this thing properly and, and whatever. So, it'll be time before we hear anything concrete about this, but they're, like this makes sense. Like as weird as it is on paper to be like Sony's co-financing a Nintendo movie, that's weird. It sounds weird on paper, but it actually makes sense if you stop and think about it.
I do kind of hope. Yes, I know it's a Legend of Zelda movie. It's going to take place in Hyrule. There's going to be nothing even resembling modern technology or modern conveniences. But there's a big part of me that really hopes they're somehow able to get one of those prototype Nintendo PlayStations and stick it somewhere as like just an Easter egg as a symbolic nature of the partnership of Nintendo and Sony within the movie. I don't know. That's just me.
Not a chance.
no, not a chance. Not a chance whatsoever. But I would love to see it. It would, I'd pop off for it.
Fair enough. Well, like I said, on tomorrow's episode of All In, we break it down a little bit further. We sit in the pocket. We do a little bit of fan casting and stuff. We're not really going to get into that tonight since this is a news-focused show, but tune in to tomorrow's episode of All In, which will hit your feeds on your podcast feeds, and we get into stuff like that. But again, this did come off the heels of some exciting financials. We do have some numbers to talk about this week on the show, and I have here Nintendo's got one of these exciting PR slides that they show to their investors. So there's some stuff to break down here.
Now, it is important to note that Q2 runs from April through June. So all of these numbers are as of June of this year.
This is June through September.
Or June, I'm sorry, June through September. Yeah. Thank you. This is Q2, June through September. So this does not take into account October, any of the October numbers.
Right. Now we do know, and we'll go over this, but there's an update about Mario Wonder, but otherwise we don't know about a lot of October numbers. So that is worth keeping in mind. First off, current update on the Switch hardware sales, we're at 132.46 million units for the Nintendo Switch. We're still not at DS levels just yet.
We got about 20 million to go to hit DS level. I wonder, man, I really do, because this was a bit of a bump. They weren't expecting to hit this number through Q2. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, they have we'll get to it a little later, but they do have a statement about the future outlook of the Nintendo Switch, and there are a couple of really interesting things that they little interesting breadcrumbs that they dropped into this
Hmm.
financial report. But we'll get to that in a second. 132.46 million Switches out there now. We have got now like 1.13 billion in software sales, which does
Oh, is
summarily
that all?
eclipse. Yeah, that does, even for the DS. That's way more software sales than the DS. So, in terms of software, the Switch is on top of it. So
I
that's
feel
where
like
we're at with
that.
that.
Like that's really good. What is that? Like seven on average, seven physical games for every Nintendo Switch sold.
It's a lot. It's
That's
a lot,
that's
man.
pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive because I mean, of those 132 million, not every one of those is a hardcore gamer out there collecting everything that comes out. You know, I'm sure that number's helped
Right.
out by people like JP, but to sell an average of seven or eight physical games per console like that, I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive. Well, we did get a little bit of launch information here from Mario Wonder. Global sell through 2 weeks after release, 4.3 million units sold, which makes it the biggest release for a Super Mario title. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which was released worldwide on October 20th, achieved global cumulative sales of 4.3 million units within the first 2 weeks. This makes it the fastest selling Super Mario related title. They, of course, relate this to the fact that this is the first entirely new entry in the side scrolling series in about 11 years. And also, they make the corollary to the Super Mario Brothers movie success,
Yep.
which obviously gave it a bump as well, and Nintendo does acknowledge that.
Yep.
So,
$4.3 million or 4.3 million copies
yeah.
rather. That eclipses some Nintendo franchises, and that's just for one game in 2 weeks. That is absolutely nuts.
And it'll continue to sell really well. Going into the
Absolutely.
holiday, it'll
Absolutely.
be Mario titles are evergreen.
Especially with the Super Mario Brothers movie hitting Netflix on
Yeah,
December 3rd, which means that even among the millions of people who saw it in theaters, there are still many, many more who weren't able to. Netflix is going to increase the exposure of that by a ton right in time for the holiday season. So I would expect another huge bump in sales for Mario Wonder following the movie's release on Netflix.
yeah. Game's gonna sell well, I think. Well, we also got an update on Pikmin 4, which released in July. 2.5 million units sold, biggest global
Nice.
cumulative sell through in the Pikmin series, and the
Nice.
biggest launch in the series across all regions. Now, they don't notate this here in the slide, but the game did very well in Japan in particular. Which was cool to see. The game, I think, had like nearly half of these sales were just in Japan.
Oh, really?
So it was like that serious.
Wow.
Oh, actually, no, here it is. Sales in Japan were particularly robust. We believe this is in part due to the fact that when Pikmin was released for Nintendo GameCube in 2001, the song about Pikmin featured in its TV commercial became quite popular among children. Many who became familiar with Pikmin at the time are now parents and are enjoying Pikmin 4 alongside their children with a sense of nostalgia. So
Oh,
that's,
that's an
yeah.
adorable image. That's an absolutely adorable image. Oh, that's great. Congratulations on Pikmin 4. I'm glad it sold so well.
Great game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still one of my favorite games. Yeah, of the year. So cool to see Pikmin 4 do well. But like to your point earlier, like Mario Wonder has already nearly doubled that in
Yeah,
two
in 2 weeks.
weeks.
Yeah.
And but I mean, Pikmin's never been a franchise that has done like gangbusters numbers. So to see Pikmin 4 come out and kind of immediately become the best selling entry in the series, hopefully it won't be too long before we see another one. So.
I don't know. We'll see. I will probably get like Pikmin 4 Deluxe, or I would like to see some DLC. I think there's
I
a
would too.
real opportunity for DLC for Pikmin 4, especially with, the whole Dandori battles and everything
Just
like
let me
that.
do Dandori battles online. That's what I want.
We got like Christmas themed Pikmin 3 content.
Yeah,
So, I mean, maybe,
I'd
just
love to see
maybe.
it.
I
I
would
would love
too.
to see
I
it.
love that content from Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. So congrats to Pikmin 4. Hopefully more Pikmin content to come. We got an update on Tears of the Kingdom. Sell through of 17.6 million units. I think the grand total on Tears of the Kingdom is now closer to like 19 million units or something like that. But Tears of the Kingdom, of course, continues to sell really well.
Of
Hasn't
course.
quite done Breath of the Wild numbers yet, but it's got time. This will again be another evergreen title. And another thing that people need to remember when they are comparing sales of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild is Tears of the Kingdom costs $10 more. So in terms of actual like profits, Tears of the Kingdom has almost certainly been more profitable in terms of its net than Breath of the Wild was.
Well, I
So
also think that one of the big things for Breath of the Wild is at the time when Breath of the Wild came out, the Nintendo Switch didn't have 10,000 games in its
right.
catalog. There weren't nearly as many options. Breath of the Wild was a launch title. Everybody wanted this shiny new toy from Nintendo, but if you wanted to actually play something on it, you only had a couple options for the first couple months. And I'm sure that drove many a sale for Breath of the Wild. What was it, like 90% of Switches sold within the first year or
It was a
something?
lot.
Yeah, came like
Yeah.
also sold Breath of the Wild. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, 17.4 million or 17.6 million copies is still a redonkulous number. But, had the Nintendo Switch not already cultivated this potentially goated library at this point, we'd probably see double those numbers.
Well, we'll see too once the holiday numbers come through as
Yep.
well. We'll see where Tears of the Kingdom lands. I imagine it's going to have a nice holiday bump as well. But the really interesting thing from this briefing for me comes from this right here, future outlook. So they have a couple of slides here where they talk about their outlook on the future of the Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
Switch and how they view user accounts, and we'll hit both of these here. The Nintendo Switch will be entering its 8th year in March 2024. We will continue to release new titles and content for Nintendo Switch without being bound by the traditional concept of the platform life cycle. That is an interesting quote. Without
Yes.
being bound by the traditional concept of the platform life cycle. Now, Nintendo also, Furukawa recently came out and vehemently denied claims of the Switch Pro or Switch 2 or whatever being shown at Gamescom, has denied up and down all kinds of things. Nintendo is known for denying things that are absolutely true, so you can't really put too much stock in that. He's not going
See,
to come out and say, oh yeah, it did totally happen.
see, that's the thing. Like, of course, they're going to deny it
Yeah,
because there's probably a ton of NDAs in regard. He probably legally can't acknowledge it.
right.
Um, but also, yes, of course, for the sake of sales and for the sake of Nintendo controlling the messaging of which they are want to do, of course they're going to say that. If they're, and this is something we've seen before, if they were going to announce it tomorrow, they were still going to say the exact same thing. That
Yeah.
being said, it wouldn't really surprise me if that were completely true. The fact that it hadn't been shown at Gamescom and the fact that Nintendo's next console dev kits are already with developers, because the Nintendo Switch is still doing so incredibly well. Obviously, Nintendo is already planning on what they're doing next, but with the Nintendo Switch, with its UI and with its interface, it's been such a boon for the company for so long. Yes, they desperately need a spec upgrade, but it's like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like, it's not slowing down. It's still selling ridiculously well every quarter. So there's no real incentive to jump forward quite yet. So this whole idea about being bound by the idea of a traditional console life cycle, of course, if it's not broke yet, don't fix it. So I've got to imagine that as long as this is doing well, Nintendo is continuing to work in the background, continuing to upgrade, continuing to make better whatever their next console is, and it'll be ready to pounce on the public once Nintendo needs it to. But until they need it to, they're just going to continue to toil away at it, make it better, wait just a little bit longer, hopefully bump the specs up as much as they possibly can before they actually reveal it to the public.
Yeah, what this tells me is that whatever is next is still going to be considered to be within the Switch family. Like whatever comes next is going to be whatever, Super Switch. Like it's not
Yeah.
going to be like some radically new thing. They're going to continue building on the foundation of the Switch with whatever the next thing is. That's what this statement tells me because this traditional concept of the platform life cycle, most people would consider the Switch going into its eighth year to be long in the tooth. It's time to move
Yes.
on. It's time to put it to bed. Nintendo, yeah, things haven't slowed down. You know, the momentum has remained high. Now it's it's crept a little bit. It's not as meteoric as it was in the first year, 2 years, of course,
Of
but
course. Yeah.
it's still doing extraordinarily well. Games are still selling extraordinarily well. So like, why would they stop the gravy train? They're going to when this next thing is just going to be it's going to be in the same Switch kind of family and catalog. And there's another slide here that I wanted to point out where they talk about Nintendo accounts and
Yeah.
supporting long term relationships with our customers. They say prior to the introduction of Nintendo account, it was not easy to maintain users' information across platform generations, including details such as their software purchases and gameplay records. The introduction of Nintendo account made it possible to tie a user's history to their personal account. This will be a foundation upon which Nintendo can maintain a lasting relationship with consumers. So they are straight up saying here, because we have Nintendo accounts in the Switch era, whatever comes next, your purchase history is going to carry forward. And that to me, like in these two slides, they have said to me, like, Switch is not, in the traditional sense, Switch is not going away. And we are supporting you long term with Nintendo accounts with things like backwards compatibility and purchase history. They didn't specifically say that, but that's how I read that between the lines.
Well, this is something that I still have my same account. I still have my same player account on the PlayStation 5 that I used on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
So this is not a new idea, and this is honestly
No.
something that Nintendo should have adopted a little earlier. I'm glad they have it, but I mean, regardless of what comes next, this was an idea that they should have adopted already. But it is nice to see that they finally did. I will say a counterpoint to the idea about Nintendo moving on, about Nintendo staying with the Nintendo Switch, whatever form that takes, is as well as the Nintendo Switch continues to do, there are notable examples of third-party games having terrible time on the Nintendo Switch specifically this year. So the counterpoint to that is if Nintendo wants to even remotely keep pace and just not throw everything in the not really quite up to par yet cloud gaming service that the Nintendo Switch offers for some of its more recent AAA releases, stuff like Control, the Resident Evil games, and so on and so forth. If you want to try to put recent AAA games natively onto a Nintendo platform, that's the counterpoint to the Nintendo Switch's success right now, is it could just drop off a cliff at some point. But again, if the gravy train hasn't stopped yet,
it's going to require clear communication. Like that's going to be their challenge. Is it's going to require them to say, "Hey, like we have this new and more powerful thing that is worth upgrading to, and this is where stuff is going to be able to, run better, be more powerful, blah blah blah." They've done stuff like this in the past, and they've made exclusive software for their more powerful hardware in the past. There are a handful of like games that only run on the new Nintendo 3DS and stuff like this, but that has not translated to like extraordinary success. And it also, those games like the new Nintendo 3DS is not like a generational leap above the old 3DS. So they're in uncharted waters for Nintendo here. So I think that is going to be maybe the most fascinating thing about whatever the next Nintendo system is, whatever this new generation is going to be how they do communicate it. Because I do think it's going to be important. I do expect the new thing to be like significantly more powerful. So how do you bridge that gap for people?
But in terms of the player profiles, in terms of the Nintendo accounts, saving purchase histories and stuff like that, we've already seen the Wii U and 3DS eShops close, and so many, especially indie games, kind of get lost to the proverbial ether. Thankfully, some people went out of their way to try to cultivate records of these games before that happened. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to cultivate a record of every Nintendo Switch eShop game when that inevitably comes. I know that we're still years away from that happening, but in terms of, generational, in terms of, saving information for Nintendo players and accounts moving forward, I know we're still a ways away from this, but I do hope Nintendo is thinking about what they're going to do with the Nintendo Switch eShop when it inevitably comes time to pull the plug on it, is really the best way I can put it. So purchase history is nice, but I do worry about the time when you inevitably, when those games aren't even available to re-download.
Yeah, I mean that's a reality of any digital storefront though. And I think that the fact that they are assuaging those fears at all, because it wasn't all that long ago where people were like, oh my god, whenever they do Switch 2 or whatever, am I gonna have to rebuy everything? 'Cause that used to be what we had to do. Even they would do even weird archaic things, where on Wii U you pay $10 or whatever to get your Wii game over, so they, at least there is a solution now. At least Nintendo account means that I can have access to my purchase history when things are available. Sam makes the point, even physical games eventually stop being for sale at retail. I mean, this is just the way of it, man. So, it's an unfortunate reality. Nothing lasts forever, but it's nice to see that there is some thought being paid to future proofing to where I don't have to rebuy stuff that I already bought.
Yeah, as long as it can play my Nintendo Switch cartridges.
I hope so. Yeah, I think it will. I
think it will too.
I would be shocked if it doesn't. But those are some interesting tidbits, really interesting financial results from Nintendo, and some really, I think, prescient statements. But that is not the only bit of news. This was also kind of unexpected. We got news of the first regional Splatfests for Splatoon 3. I feel like we're covering new Splatfest every week here on the show at this point. But finally, this has been a complaint with Splatoon 3, is that because every Splatfest has been the same from region to region, it has kind of skewed a lot of the numbers. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this shakes out. We've got the in the North American and European regions, the what's your go-to greeting, team handshake versus team fist bump versus team hug.
Truly an argument to pull each other's hair out over.
Yeah. I mean, if we're friends, it's got to be team hug. I mean, come on, y'all.
See, that's the thing. Is if I know you well enough, it's hug. Right. If you haven't showered, it's fist bump. But I also am a good proponent. It's situational. I mean, I can't just go one or the other. But I looked at this and they said, Japan's got their own. I was like, well, that makes complete sense because in the Japanese culture,
team bow,
exactly,
at various levels,
exactly. Yeah, are you team bow, or team bow? Are you team head nod? Are you team, shoulder length? Or are you team hands down at side? I'm going to see the ground.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's Japanese culture is slightly different than choosing the greetings like this. So it didn't surprise me at all that they decided not to quite go with something like that. However, the Splatfest that Japan did go with, I mean, it certainly plays into it being regional because I have no clue what's going on.
This is so funny.
Yeah, we're gonna have to throw this over to our Tokyo Game Life friend over there. Figure out what's going on with this one.
Yeah, so the theme of the Japanese Splatfest is, what do you call this? And it's the same thing.
And for those who can't tell, it looks like a fig Newton in circle form.
So this is the three options are kaitenyaki, obanyaki, or imagawa-yaki. And what these are, this is a little pastry that is typically sold at Japanese festivals. And it's just a pastry that's filled with red bean paste. And very simple, kind of sweet. Many Japanese sweets are just sort of red bean paste filled pastries. And that's what this is. But apparently different regions of Japan refer to it as different names, and this is apparently so prevalent in different Japanese regions that it's worthy of getting its own three-way Splatfest about. So I kind of love it. I kind of love the idea that people are going to be fighting tooth and nail over what we call this very, kind of traditional standard Japanese red bean pastry.
Why do I feel like this one's actually going to get serious in Japan?
Maybe.
Like, people are going to get heated over this one.
Like, you call it an Imagawa yaki? What are you talking about? Get out of here.
Savages!
It's a kaiten yaki all day. What are you talking about? So, yeah,
we can't be
fun.
friends anymore. Kaiten yaki. Jeez, get out of my house.
Yeah. Mostly just glad that this exists, though. I'm mostly just glad that like this gives, a little more, like we don't have to just do the same thing as everybody else anymore. So I hope we see more regional Splatfest. I hope this isn't the last one.
Now we've got to keep track of wins between Shiver Fry and Big Man in a completely different way now.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's been a big thing. A lot of people we were talking to Cheesy about this. I don't know if it was on the recording or not from last week's episode of All In, but it was either on or off mic. I don't remember, but he was talking about how like that's a huge problem is because the Japanese audience skews very heavily toward Shiver. So a lot of the time, because we haven't had regionality in the Splatfests, Shiver has won the vast majority of Splatfest. So I'm hoping that this kind of evens the playing field a little bit more. And I'd like to see more of, more regional Splatfests like this. So
yeah,
we shall see.
We shall see.
Yeah, but speaking of Japan, Level 5 has announced a second presentation for later this month in Japan, the Level 5 Vision 2023-2 presentation. They did one back in like June or May or something like that.
Yep.
They're holding this one on November 29th, and they promise release date information for every game they currently have announced. Now, very notably, games like Deca Police and until literally today, Fantasy Life I were slated for release this year. Fantasy Life I, they did come out and officially delay in a statement earlier today to some vague 2024 date. Deca Police, as of right now, is still slated for 2023. So they're going to come out and they're going to date apparently like the Inazuma 11 game that they announced, Professor Layton. I don't expect hard dates for these, but like 2024
Possibly.
dates. It is possible, but I do think 2024 dates for most, if not every game mentioned here is to be expected. I just can't imagine they're going to shadow drop Deca Police during this.
I don't know. Deca Police still looks really good. I'm very interested in checking that one out once it does get released. But the fact that they're holding another presentation like this, I imagine they're not just going to re-show the same trailers that we saw earlier on this year.
Right.
I'm very interested to see, like, we're going to get like a full gameplay trailer of Professor Layton at this point. We've got to. I've got to admit. And oh man, what was that that mecha fighting thing that they showed off? I'm really interested in checking that one as well. But yeah, Level 5's got some really interesting games coming down the pipeline. And the fact that we're having another developer direct essentially from this studio here toward the end of the year, the fact that they have progressed enough with each of these titles that they can produce an entire new presentation's worth of content for stuff. I'm really excited to see what they have to show off because Level 5 historically has been an incredibly consistent studio. They have a lot of great games under their belt. And again, with this new IP, Deca Police and other stuff that they have working on, it's just gotten me more excited about the future of this studio.
Yeah, dude. We got Fantasy Life hype in the chat. Tony
Apparently,
Baker and Antics. Yeah, both coming through. What's up, guys? Good to see y'all here in the chat. Fantasy Life was more popular than I think I realized back on 3DS. I never played it, so I'm definitely going to be interested in checking this one out. I'm hoping, Tony Baker says I'm hoping early 2024, so
probably.
We'll see,
I would
man.
imagine spring 2024 is what that feels like to me. But we don't have very long to wait, November 29th. But yeah, I didn't realize Fantasy Life was that. What was it, the girl who forgot her name or something like that?
It's like the girl who like something time, something like that. It's a whole thing, man. People are really hyped for this one, so I'm going to be interested to check it out. And yeah, like I'm a huge Professor Layton fan, so like I hope to see something there. It's funny because like it wasn't all that long ago when it was like, hey, is level 5 dead? And it's like,
Yeah,
no, there's a lot of stuff coming. And I think another thing worth noting too, because I've seen a lot of people online sort of be disappointed. I want to see Fantasy Life and Deca Police come out as much as the next guy. But a big statement that level 5 made during the last one of these was that, hey, all of these games are going to be released simultaneously worldwide and localized. So I think that that is kind of what we're bumping up against. Some of these games may well be done, but they're holding them until they can localize them and get them ready for a worldwide release. So, but I do like Deca Police and Fantasy Life. I do think we'll get hard dates for those.
yeah.
So,
But I also I don't have a look at Level 5's books. I can't tell you what their financial situation is. But I feel like they're a studio that, they can afford to not force out a game that's not finished. Like they can hold back if a game needs polish. They can hold back if a game needs a couple more months in the oven for whatever reason.
that's what their statement was basically
Yeah.
about Fantasy Life. They're like, hey, we want the game to be as good as it can be.
Yep.
So.
Because unfortunately, not every studio has that luxury.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, this is a little bit of a surprise here. Let's talk a little bit about a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Switch OLED bundle that was announced this week. This is pretty cool. I don't think many people saw this coming. We already knew we were getting, I think there's a Switch Sports bundle this holiday. I think there's obviously your standard Mario Kart bundle. We've got the Animal Crossing bundles that just hit targets and whatnot. But this is a Switch OLED with a black dock with special Smash Ultimate Joy-Con. And it's going to include not only a digital copy of Smash Ultimate, it's also going to include a 3-month Nintendo Switch Online individual membership for $349.99. So this is a great option to get into. Like this might be one of the better Switch bundles we've seen, especially since this is an OLED, not a standard Switch like we've seen a couple times before.
Yeah, arguably Nintendo's second best online co-op / PvP game on the console, in addition to 3 months of Nintendo Switch Online. This is going to be a great, especially for the American market, who is, historically us Americans are incredibly competitive, and being able to beat each other up with our favorite Nintendo characters has always just been way too attractive a proposition for us to not completely engage with. So, Nintendo Switch OLED Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Edition. This just makes sense, frankly. I do wonder about Nintendo having too many bundles, about whether or not the sales figures are going to kind of eat each other in that regard. Because if you've having one or two is okay, but having like half a dozen different console bundles, I wonder if it's maybe a little too much for some people.
I don't know. Yeah, they definitely want to appeal to a wide demographic. They want to have, if you're an Animal Crossing fan, they want to have your Animal Crossing bundle on the shelf. If you're, if you're just kind of coming into it and you want like your basic Switch, or if you want like a secondary Switch or something, they've got your Mario Kart, your Switch Sports and stuff. But I think that I think the OLED model that they have here, this bundle is like for the hardcore gamer that somehow has not picked up a Switch yet. Here you go. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. This is a very like sort of end of life cycle move. Like this is a very sort of like 8 years in move. Let's start putting out the bundles, man.
Yeah. After Nintendo has released a couple like all-time great Nintendo Switch like special edition consoles, though, with stuff like the Scarlet and Violet Switch OLED and stuff like My Little Baby, the Splatoon 3 Switch OLED. It feels like some of these newer ones are just relatively low effort. So I wonder about that, because again, this Switch 3 OLED is absolutely stunning. And I look at some of these newer ones. You and I looked at the Mario Wonder, just like pure red.
Oh, the red Mario one.
Yeah, I just kind of wondered what was going on. So I mean, these are nice, these are okay, but I feel like Nintendo had a really good thing going with these really intricate, really heavily designed. They may not have been your thing. Some of the individual ones may not have been your thing, but you can't deny that they worked hard on them.
Hmm.
But stuff like these, just kind of having the Joy Cons as a standout, and the console itself and the dock not really standing out too much. I don't know. I feel like these are fairly low effort compared to what Nintendo used to, and I don't know. Maybe just speaks to Nintendo trying to push these out too quickly. But I don't know. That's just wild speculation on my part. I would have liked to have seen if they were going to do a Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Switch OLED. I mean, like, just imagine a dock that's got like the "everybody is here" like lithograph, like textured into the dock or something, or on the back of the Nintendo Switch. How beautiful would that have been? That would have made me rethink my console purchases.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I would like to see more high effort stuff as well, but I think they know they can just kind of bang this thing out and let it sell what it's going to sell.
Probably.
Frankly.
I mean, ultimately, it is the games that do matter most, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is still, to this day, one of the best buys on the Nintendo Switch. It's arguably the most content-rich game that's ever released for a Nintendo console. It's still just as good as the day it came out. I mean, even better with all the additional content and stuff that they've added to it. It's an absolute... If you're going to have a Nintendo console in 2023, Smash Bros. Ultimate is just a game you need to have.
I think it's still the third best-selling game on the system too.
Behind Animal Crossing and Mario Kart. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So really cool, man. Well, speaking of Switch OLED, I wanted to show this off real quick, just because. I mean, look, this is not a Steam Deck podcast, but I just wanted to give Valve a little bit of credit here for a couple of reasons. First of all, Steam Deck is cool. People like the Steam Deck. You know, I've never messed with the Steam Deck. I don't have a ton of interest in it myself personally.
Yeah,
but
I'm not mad that PC gamers have their own, Switch adjacent console. I'm not mad at it. Have fun, guys.
Absolutely not. And this looks cool. The thing that I wanted to highlight here, though, because I did like this. I thought this was classy. There's an interview that they gave to the Washington Post that Valve gave, and Valve's lead product designer Greg Coomer said this kind of nice quote where they don't deny and they don't shy away from giving Nintendo their props, because I kind of like that if we're going to clearly emulate this sort of Nintendo pick up and play sort of idea here, at least give them their props. So he had this to say, quote, "The Switch OLED definitely showed people that the fidelity of an OLED screen is just generally higher. It's just a great product from Nintendo that makes a ton of customers around the world super happy." So I don't know, man. It's not often that you see competitors acknowledge game recognized game sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so the Steam Deck OLED pre-orders, I guess it comes out November 16th. So it's a Steam Deck with an OLED screen, looks sleek, and they're giving Nintendo some props for it. So good for them.
I mean, be respectful. I mean, you can compete with you can be rivals with somebody, but I mean, you can be respectful. And look what happens. Here you have Steam Deck getting some free publicity on a Nintendo podcast. Good karma. You throw good stuff out into the world, good stuff returns to you. It's not like, you try to 100% copy and paste something that Nintendo's doing. I don't know, release a little wand with a little bulbous glowing tip on the end of it called the Move and try to pretend like it was an original idea. It's really nice to see, competitors. It's really nice to see. I love it when when Street Fighter 6 came out, the Mortal Kombat Twitter was like, "Congratulations on the launch, guys." I love to see stuff like that. When when Tears of the Kingdom came out, the Xbox official Twitter account said, "It's nice to be back in Hyrule." I love that. That was amazing. You love to see stuff like that.
Yep, agreed. So I just wanted to quickly shout that out. We do have a sad story
Yeah, we
To
do.
hit here, coming out of our friends at Samurai Punk.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after 10 years, Samurai Punk is closing their doors, ceasing development anyway. They're going to still be supporting the games that already exist, but they will not be developing new games. Sadly, I've got their statement pulled up here that says, "Quote: After a wild 10 years, we've made the tough decision to cease development at Samurai Punk, marking the end of our journey together. It's been an amazing run, and we'd like to thank our team, past and present. The 9 incredible games we've made wouldn't have been possible without them. It cannot be overstated how talented everyone who came through our doors is, and we wish them all the best with their own journeys in the industry." End quote. The statement continues with a little bit of backstory of Samurai Punk, and they also shout out the fact that they have linked, their CVs and contact details of the people in the team who are now looking for jobs. Samurai Punk has always been very kind to us.
Yes.
They've been great to us. We've had both Winston and Nick, the two leads of the company, on our show before, and they've always been great to us. So we wish everybody their soft landings, and we love their games. And it's a great run. 10 years is a long time to do what you love, and wish everybody there all the best.
Yeah. Samurai Punk still has a few games available on the Nintendo Switch you can check out. We've showcased a couple of them here on the show before. Screen Sheet was kind of how we found out about Samurai Punk, kind of how we began our relationship with the studio, and just checking out a lot of their other stuff. I was really hoping that Kill Bug game, that we would eventually see that, but unfortunately things didn't quite fall that way. But still, I really, really enjoyed. They have absolutely kind of their own weird, almost Devolver-esque flavor when it comes to game design that I always dug.
Well, yeah, but then they're a varied team too, because then they put out something like
Feather, exactly. And that's something that you and I have commented on a couple times. Like, you look at their catalog, and it's so completely different. You have visual novels, you've got these cozy flight sims, and then you've got these incredible, Kill Bill, balls to the wall, super hyper violent cartoonish stuff, and stuff like Screen Sheet. So incredibly varied, super interesting studio.
Yeah, they're very talented. They can do all kinds of different things, even puzzle games, like trios. They have put out some awesome stuff, man. So I hope that everybody there lands safely on their feet. All the love in the world to
Love you guys.
Samurai Punk. Really sad to hear the news, but wishing everybody there all the best. Also, really quickly wanted to flag, of course, next week, the big deal coming out next week, Super Mario RPG. Does launch finally next week. And there's been a lot of speculation leading up to the game's release who the development team behind it is. Is it Grezzo? Is it this? Is it that? Well, we finally have the answer. It is longtime Square studio Art Piazza, who is best known as a support studio on the Dragon Quest franchise, particularly the 3DS Dragon Quest games, as well as the developer of a little Wii hidden gem called Apuna, which is a personal favorite of mine. I really like that game a lot. So
is that the nunchuck only game?
You play. It's kind of like I always describe it as a cross between a Chibi Robo / JRPG, where you play as this little dude. It's a kind of collectathon thing, but it's also got random encounters and battles. And I've always had a soft spot for that game. And Nintendo did also release a final overview trailer for the game for all regions this week as well. So Super Mario RPG, we finally know who's making it, and it is a Square studio. So
that does cool. I mean, that doesn't surprise me, and it is kind of nice that it is a Square studio coming back to kind of remaster and retool the final Square Nintendo collaboration before their split there in the mid-90s. So it's nice. It really feels like healing. I don't know.
The world is healing.
The world is healing. I didn't watch the overview trailer because I just, I know I've played the game several times. I know it back and forth, and I want to jump in to this version. I don't want to see any more. I just want to jump into it. So I completely bypass the overview trailer entirely. But man, dude, this month, this is something I told you privately, but between the game behind me, Star Ocean: The Second Story R, which released last week, and Super Mario RPG, the remake of that. Basically, my November is just stuck in this pocket of revisiting beloved 90s RPGs from my youth. So, but I'm perfectly okay with that. I don't hate that. I don't
good
hate
problem
that.
to have. It's a good problem to have. Well, real quick, before you hit notable releases, I know there was a big Mortal Kombat update that you wanted to notate.
Yeah, very quickly. Huge update for Mortal Kombat. Brand new season of content. The Blood Moon, I think it's called. The season of the Spectre is over. So a brand new season of Invasions is out. And with that is Omni-Man, the very first DLC character for Mortal Kombat 1. Trimmer is also out, but I believe you have to unlock Trimmer. So, but the balance patch update, Nintendo Switch optimization updates have been coming out, but this is a massive new content update that released just a couple days ago for Mortal Kombat 1. If you're still playing it on the Nintendo Switch, check it out.
Nice. Very cool. Well, we do have a significant amount of notable releases to hit here this week.
Do.
So let's hit them, man. I think probably the biggest one is the fact that Pauline and some other junk, I guess, was added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Pauline, that should have honestly just been Wave 6's official title. Pauline and some other junk, I guess. Absolutely, yes. The Mario Kart Booster Course Pass, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass is now complete after 6 waves, 48 tracks, a bunch of new characters, a bunch of new stuff just added to the game. We just got a music player with Wave 6, new Mii costumes with Wave 6, a whole bunch of new content, this massive 2-year endeavor of adding even more stuff to the already absolutely stacked Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch is finally done. I mean, so when's Mario Kart 9 now, Nintendo? I mean, wait,
tapping the watch.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but you and I played. We had our requisite Mario Kart Booster Course Pass launch online party with us and a couple of our friends. So that was a ton of fun and really good courses. The new Wii version of Rainbow Road is a particular highlight for me. Really nice,
beautiful.
It's beautiful version of that course. DK Mountain was great to see come back. So really good update. A lot of fun. I just got to go back through and get those cups now. Just got to go back through and get those cups.
I got them. I did them all.
You already did the 200 cc's? Nice.
Yep. I went through and did them all. I just it's always nice whenever there is a new wave. It's bittersweet. Like, it's sad that it's over. There was a piece of me that wouldn't have been shocked if they just said, "All right, volume 2, baby, let's go."
Absolutely.
Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case because they did even go in and update like the end credits with like a final like nice thank you image. It does seem like Mario Kart 8 is finally done, at least for now. So it's a little bit bittersweet, but I mean, like, you can't deny the sheer value of that game, and it's going to be, whenever MK9 does happen, it's going to be hard to follow up.
Yeah.
So
that's the problem, is all of these games that are serviced and you add content for it for years, then the next iteration of the game comes out and in its vanilla form. I mean, you see that with new release, especially like new fighting games. It's like, there's no content in this game. I'm like, maybe compared to the final version of the last game that was supported with new content for literal years. So Mario Kart 9 is going to have a long uphill battle, but again, we're always going to have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in its final form. It is, I mean, in terms of value, in terms of being content rich, at this point, I would put it right below Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There's just a massive amount of stuff that you can do. Not to say that there's not a few obvious things that they could do for any potential Mario Kart 9 in the future, but I mean, 96 tracks, every character just about conceivable from the Mario universe. It's great.
Yeah. What a game. What a game. Great run. And hey, Pauline's in it, so I'm happy.
Exactly. I still remember that trailer. I still remember the Wave 6 trailer that showed off Diddy and Funky, and we knew that they
held it for just a beat. They held it a little too long. They held it for just a beat too long. They knew what they were doing. I was like, no. Yeah, that was fun. Okay, well, let's see. We also have. I wanted to flag this. I think it was Adam in our Discord who I'd never even heard of this game. This game, 9 Years of Shadows.
Okay.
Looks like a really cool, like beautiful pixel art Metroidvania. Like the art and the music looked like stellar. I'd never even heard of it before, but he flagged it in the Discord, and that came out this week. And I was like, dang, that got wishlisted real quick. I was like, that immediately made its way to my wish list. Looks really neat.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
What's it
check
called?
that out. 9 Years of Shadows.
Okay.
So that looks interesting. The console edition of Catan has made it over to the Nintendo Switch. So that's a thing. I love Catan.
I
Catan's
love
fun.
Catan too. Yeah, I love.
Yeah.
If I have the opportunity, I do prefer to play board games with other people. But the whole phrase "with other people" is so
Right.
preciously underappreciated these days. I mean, we were just talking about how little you get to do stuff like, you know, what you were able to do up in New York with carpool gaming this past week. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's so many very worthy board games out there of being played. Like, I'd love to see a House on Haunted Hill version of a board game of
Yeah.
that, a King of Tokyo video game. But yeah, I really like Catan. If you have no other way of checking it out, if you don't have the ability to get together with friends around a table and play an IRL version, I do recommend checking this one out. There's some really cool board games available on the Nintendo Switch eShop. This, Carcassonne, and others. So I do recommend checking out Catan. It's a board game classic.
Oh yeah. You know what's funny is on Sunday, so my Aunt Jamie just moved down here,
Mhm.
and she is a massive Catan fan. It's her favorite game of all time, and we're having like kind of a welcome party. My family is this weekend, so I'm
Nice.
almost certainly going to play IRL Catan
Nice.
on Sunday. So it was kind of funny
Nice.
seeing that this came out on Switch. So
I even
yeah.
played a Star Trek version of Catan. That was actually really cool.
Nice. That's cool. Well, there's also this little indie game called Spells and Secrets that I wanted to flag. This looks like a sort of, third person kind of like Harry Potter inspired, magical kids in school,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Looks cute. I like the art style. I like the, apparently there's some roguelike elements to it. They've been marketing the heck out of it on Twitter. I've seen like a lot of posts about it. It's the same publisher as that Super Dungeon Maker. So I definitely am interested in that one. So I wanted to flag that. Spells and Secrets is what that's called.
Yeah.
So got that.
Risk
there
of
was this-
Rain.
Yeah, Risk of Rain returns. I've got to get in on that. We've got like Matt, Shy Guy City. He is a huge Risk of Rain fan, and he's already been playing this, and he says it's incredible. I've never played any of the Risk of Rain games, so
I trust
gotta.
Matt.
Yeah, it will, and it's got like online co-op and stuff, so I'm probably gonna pick it up and just like have him Sherpa me and like learn the ways. Show me what is so good about Risk of Rain, because he was showing me some of the music. The music is like incredible. So yeah, I'm definitely picking this up.
Senpai Matt. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a couple games this weekend that we need to get on. We were talking about like Sparky and I were talking about like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I know he just picked up Gigabash, so we're probably going to try to get on that. And it just, but I might have to check out this Risk of Rain thing. If we wind up doing something, if you wind up picking it up, if we can get something together online this weekend,
sure.
I don't know. Might have to check it out.
Yeah, there's this game Sonabi, which is published by NeoWiz, and this looks really cool. This is like a sort of Katana Zero looking, very neon soaked, like samurai hack and slash sort of thing. Saw the trailer for it. That looked really interesting. That one went on the wish list as well. So shout outs to that. Also, there's this game that just came out called Excessive Trim. Now, I've been playing this. Shoutouts to the publisher who sent us along a code. I'm probably going to make a YouTube short about it. It's a very simple game. I don't know if it's the kind of game that would sustain its own like full-length video, but probably a YouTube short. It's a very, very simple game, and it is... The premise of the game is you play as a pot-smoking alien who is
sold.
in a...
I'm sold.
Yeah.
Just let me download this real quick.
Yeah, who is in his UFO that is equipped with like saw blades. And it kind of winds up being a point chaser, Game and Watch kind of thing where you make your way through a farm, destroy cows and obstacles and farmers trying to stop you on your path, and also he's like smoking the entire time.
Is this like Toe Jam and Earl's cousin or something? What's going on?
It's so weird, and like it has a really unique art style that kind of like, I don't really know how to describe it. There's something like visceral about the art style, but it also just has that kind of two-tone, like downwell kind of aesthetic to it. It's even got like palettes, like you can palette swap like in downwell. It's a neat little game. I think it's $3, so like they know what they're doing with this. It's nothing too serious, but yeah, it's I did not think that was what the game was going to be about when I started playing it. I was like, oh, okay. So that's what we're doing, I guess. But yeah, so that's a thing. Excessive trim. Beyond, like I said, I'll probably make a YouTube short to show that off at some point this week. So
fair enough. Well, one game came out this week that you and I have been incredibly excited for, my friend, in the lead up to the release of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. That's finally come out. It doesn't feel like it's already been 2 years since the release of the first one.
Wow,
but yeah, somehow has. And now here we are with a ton of brand new characters, new stages, brand new campaign mode, kind of roguelike elements.
Yeah.
Sorry, still got Mario Wonder on the brain, apparently.
Roguelike elephants, baby.
Roguelike elephants. I will say I haven't played it yet. However, I have seen a few things that have made me cautious about the Nintendo Switch version of the game. The PC, PlayStation 5, the other console versions of the game are getting reviewed incredibly well. The Nintendo Switch version of the game currently is not. Again, I'm just saying the perspectives that I've seen. These are not my personal feelings. I haven't had the ability to play the game yet. I would like to. However, yeah, just aware that those thoughts are out there if in case you're looking to pick up the game on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like, and they have, Fair Play Labs has committed to updating the game already. In fact, I think it's already received an update or is receiving an update. So, so yeah, that's it. But it is a thing. Do be aware of that. Maybe hold fast a little bit. Hold and see what ends up happening with the Switch version. But I do want to play. I loved the first one.
Absolutely, yeah. So Fair Play Labs is clearly a passion project for this team, and they put in so much work to increase the fidelity and to increase the quality essentially of the first one, even post launch. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna go in and add voice acting after launch, that's a clear indicator that you listen to the people. That's a clear indicator that you want this game to be the best it possibly can be, that this project is not just a simple licensed cash grab for your studio.
Definitely.
I have a ton of respect for Fair Play Labs and the work that they have put into this franchise. Just according to what I've heard, the optimization on the Switch isn't quite there yet, but I still absolutely want to give them some money for this game. So do check that out. That is out now on all consoles if that's something you were as excited about as we were, or even just remotely interested.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just real quick, I'll shout out Salt and Sacrifice, which I guess is a sequel to Salt and Sanctuary, which came out, feels like a million years ago.
Yeah.
I played that back on PS4. Like, it's like early PS4, if I remember right. I played that forever ago, and I thought it was okay. It is a 2D side-scrolling Souls-like game made by. Do you remember like Dishwasher, Dead Samurai, and stuff? Ska Studios back on Xbox Live Arcade. They made like a 2D side-scrolling Souls-like, and this, I guess, is a sequel to that. So I would like to. I would like to check that out at some point, but it's on the wish list for now. But it is a thing. Salt and Sacrifice, it's called.
It is a thing. It is a thing. But, I mean, those have just been a few of the releases from this past week on the Nintendo Switch eShop. We'd love to know what you guys are playing this weekend, this Veterans Day weekend. Let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook at All In Podcast, on Twitter at All In Podcast. Come over. Join the All In Discord. We'd love to have you over there. A ton of amazing stand-up human beings over there in the All In Discord. And if you're here checking us out on YouTube, before you leave, go ahead and check out the channel, like, subscribe, all that algorithmic stuff. Make sure you never miss another piece of content from your boys. Don't worry, I'm never going to say that again. From Seth and Eric here at All In, a Nintendo podcast. And in addition to all of this content, the weekly news roundups, the videos, the podcast, we still create exclusive content even for our patrons, don't we, Seth?
We do. At patreon.com/allinpodcast, 3 tiers of support over there. Check it out. See what works for you. 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier, so you can check it out risk-free and see what all the fuss is about. You can also throw a few bones our way by buying some merch at bit.ly/allinmerch. But if you don't have any bones to throw away, that's okay too. You can always leave us a review if you listen to us on your podcast feed. That's appreciated. And yeah, like, subscribe, comments on YouTube. Very, very, very appreciated. Free and easy way to support us. So thank you.
Yes. So many ways out there to support everything that we're doing here at All In. And for everybody out there who has done any of those things, we love and support you right back. To our patrons, to the people who've dropped words, to the people who have bought merch, to the people that have even just shared our content across the internet. We would like to extend to you an incredibly heartfelt namaste.
Namaste, everybody. That's been the news, folks. Brand new episode of All In a Nintendo podcast comes out tomorrow. Hits your podcast feed with some important stuff in there as well.
Yes.
You'll want to listen to that. We have a fun top 5. Speaking of Mario Kart, we're doing the top 5 the courses that didn't quite make the cut in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So we're going through that. We're doing an indie showcase on Bug Snacks. One of our favorites. Finally, we promised we'd do it forever ago, so we're doing that. And like I mentioned earlier, we are also breaking down and really kind of sitting in the pocket of the live-action Zelda movie announcement, doing some fan casting, maybe even speculating on where we think they might take the direction of the movie. So it's going to be a fun episode. That drops tomorrow. So look forward to that. And I want to send a big thanks to everybody who came out tonight. We had Bowza, we had Sam in here, Tony Baker, Antix, Jackson, and the Noob in the chat. So big thanks to everybody who came out. Again, links are in the video description if you want to join the Discord community, if you want to check out the podcast and the Patreon and all the rest. So until next time, guys. Bye-bye.